big show today, ladies and gentlemen. It's all kicking off. There's rugby league everywhere. And I thought I would take the opportunity to start this episode off by chatting to one of the stalwarts of rugby league broadcasting here in Australia. He's dialing into us now. Are you there, Rabs?
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You must be glad that the footy's back.
Oh, look, it's lovely to get back into rugby league.
You're in semi-retirement these days, Rabs. Are you enjoying, taking it easy?
Look, I tell you what, I'm not that happy to be coming out. I mean, I was quite happy, snugged up on the lounge.
Right.
Didn't feel a great need to go to football grounds in the cold and the rain for another season, but here I am.
What have you got for us this season, and have you got anything planned? Anything to look out for?
I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to just make sure I'll go back to a few of my favourite phrases. I don't think I used I'll tell a man he can very much last season, so I want to make sure that gets a good run.
Well, I can speak for all the fans in saying we have been missing that. I hope we get to hear it.
Yeah, we used to say turn it up. I don't know why I don't say turn it up anymore. Maybe because Fiatti's not round that much.
Yeah.
He used to always say turn it up.
Yeah, you guys always said turn it up, didn't you?
But you know what fads are like.
Yeah, that's right. Well, these things come and go, I guess. Are you going to try and bring that back with fellow commentators this year?
I'll tell a man he can.
Yeah, right. Okay, nice one.
Right, so what is this? Is this a...
It's a podcast.
A podcast?
Yeah, it's a...
Well, that's a radio show of some description, is it?
Oh, yeah, I guess. It's like a radio show on the internet.
The internet?
Yeah. You've heard of the internet, surely, Rabs, haven't you?
Well, I don't know much about that.
Oh, well, I can't imagine why.
I prefer traditional media, but, all the best with it. I hope you go well.
Well, thanks, Rabs, and enjoy your calls this season.
Righto. Thanks very much.
Bye, Rabs.
Turn it up.
Hey, we're recording a podcast.
That's a good way to start. Just go, hey, you.
Well, perhaps someone's forgotten what they're doing with their life, and they're like, oh, there's a voice in my ears. Yes, I'm listening to a podcast. That's right. Stu, I want to start with questions for you. I wanted to ask them before we said wait for the thing.
Oh, shit.
I want to talk Origin.
Hang on.
Yep.
You're coming in hot, just going, stop this craziness. Let's talk about sport early.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Well, there'll be plenty of time for craziness.
I had more thoughts on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Is that for later, or?
No, that's fair. Give me the Robin Hood thoughts.
So I was on another podcast during the week, or a little bit earlier than
You committed podultery.
Called Strange Times. You can check it out if you like. It's a British-based podcast, just talking about weird stuff that happens during the week.
Would you say it's a romp?
Yeah, it's just a lot of people swearing and crass jokes, really.
The British often say things are a romp.
Okay. I brought up Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves again on that podcast just because, it's at the front of my mind. And one of the guys on there reminded me of a fact about that movie that at one point in post-production, Kevin Costner locked the director out of the editing room. And Kevin Costner was in there doing the editing, or making the editing choices.
Worked his magic.
Yeah, what kind of operation is this where the lead actor can push the director out and start making the cuts?
Do you know who the director was?
Kevin something.
So they were both called Kevin?
Yeah.
Could it have been as simple as a Kevin mix-up?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. The funny thing about that is that I actually pictured Kevin Costner in still his Robin Hood gear in the editing suite.
He's a method. I believe he does stay in the gear till the edit's done.
Yeah, just firing arrows back through the door when the director tries to come in.
Yeah, maybe it was as simple as the editor was facing the edit screen and had everyone behind him and kept asking Kevin for advice, but Kevin Costner was replying, and eventually maybe it was a misunderstanding. The Kevin director went to the bathroom. Was it Kevin Smith?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it would be Kevin Smith.
No.
That'd be a whole different kind of...
Yeah.
Involve a lot of standing at the front of a convenience store.
Yeah. And Robin Hood leaning against a wall with Little John.
I like it. That sounds all right, actually. That's kind of funny. Yeah, okay. I feel like there are lots of those stories about previous movies where, actors would do stuff like that or refuse to do stuff or things would happen, but it doesn't seem to... I feel I don't hear those stories as much with modern movies.
I bloody love going in the Did You Knows on IMDb.
A good spot in the world, aren't they? I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just great. Anyway, sorry, you were going to ask me about Stay Origin, were you?
Well, yeah, after the weekend's rugby league, I happened to see Mr. Trebojevic play out of his skin.
Yes.
And I thought, fucking what position do we play him at? Do you give Teddy the boot? Well, not the boot, but do you maybe find a different spot for Teddy?
It's funny that we're in this position where we've got Teddy, who is arguably best player in the world. A lot of people say so.
Agreed.
But you almost say, well, Turbo could Turbo bump him?
Yeah.
It's almost like you hope one of them gets injured just to make the choice easier.
Wow. Yeah. No. So I listen to another sports podcast, a fantasy podcast, and they have a good way to say that, because often in fantasy you're hoping if a player in front of them gets an injury, they'll do better.
Yeah.
But so a way that they now refer to this, and I think we should take this on, is say, instead of if he gets an injury, if he wins a very big lottery and decides to never play football again.
Do you reckon if a prominent NRL player won the lottery mid-season, would they see the season out? Would it, do it for the boys kind of thing?
I wonder how prominent you'd have to be, because surely any Tiger, if they won the lottery, would be gone.
And would you feel guilty enough if you decided you didn't want to play to top up some third-party payments for someone else to come and replace you?
I was going to say the exact same thing. What are the legalities of one player paying another?
Well, it's, brown paper bag gear. There's nothing legal about it.
Well, it might not even have to be brown paper bag gear.
Right.
Could I offer... So I play at the Tigers,
yeah,
and we want Teddy. We can only pay, as a club, Teddy $200,000 a year. But I'm a very rich lottery-winning player. Can I say, don't worry, Teddy, I'll offer another $1 million a year to you? Is that legal?
No.
That's just one man giving another man money.
I suppose so, but, then there's tax things you have to worry about because you can only gift a certain amount in a certain period of time. A lot of that might go in tax, for example, and then, the player's not getting, or you're paying more than you actually wanted to. I honestly don't see why a player would do that other than guilt if they've let the boys down mid-season because they've, jagged a Powerball or something.
I love the idea of one player paying the others due to guilt.
But I mean, other than that, what else? How else do we determine this? Do you hope that one of them finds their way onto Madge's sacrifice table?
I like that. That's good. Maybe that's what we should say from now on. Instead of I hope he gets an injury, I hope he finds his way to the sacrifice table, the sacrificial altar of Madge.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Bounty Gate from the New Orleans Saints?
Is it to do with the coconut chocolate or?
Oh, no. This was also the Watergate Hotel. Did they think that eventually they would just be synonymous with scandal? It was about the coach, who is a man who looks kind of like a slimmer version of Bruce Willis. He's got those cat bum lips kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? But he offered the players $10,000 for injuring opposing players.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and had the envelopes ready and a tally and stuff and was ready to pay him. And then and they got found out and it all came out. Yeah, it's a shit car. We saw a shit car. And he only got a year suspension. And it's that's pretty disrepute game, right?
But okay, that's what happened in the league. But didn't any other kind of external criminal charges come?
No, apparently not. Yeah,
how is that possible?
I know, right?
Right.
It's what would the solicitation for assault?
Well, yeah, and just potentially robbing of livelihoods and so on that would ensue afterwards. But
it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Concept that Bountygate happened, and now no one cares. Like, he's back coaching, everyone loves him. It's fine. I like cheating in sports. I like the concept of it. I mean, I don't like people doing it, but I'm intrigued by it. It's like listening to a true crime podcast. Like, I like to hear about cheating. What's the biggest cheating scandal that's not money related, going away from that you can think of in like NRL or something like that?
Well, before I answer that, are we going to get back to talking about what we do with Teddy and Tommy, or are we just left that now?
Well, so before you were telling me that I was too straight and on board. I don't know what's going on with this.
I just don't know what you want answered and when.
Okay, we'll couch the cheating. We'll go back to Turbo and Teddy.
Yeah.
And then we'll work from there.
Okay. So I didn't see the Manly game. I think I'd like to watch it when I get home after this.
Fair.
Later tonight.
Worth doing.
But from all accounts, it was just a masterclass of fullbackdom.
Yes. Now, that's given me a thought. You always have problems with our centres, is it, or forwards? Who do you think we don't have, like, we're not going to play the correct players?
Well, my problem was that we picked fullbacks or people out of position play centres in State of Origin, and that's where a lot of the tries went through because they're not experienced there defensively. Gutho and Whiten, wasn't it?
Yes, well, then you're not going to like my idea. My idea was, could we play literally one less centre on the field and play two fullbacks?
Yeah, it might do some things to your defensive line, but also...
But you imagine the attack.
Yeah, no, I get you. I guess my question is, again, Teddy, fantastic player, arguably best player in the world. Does that arguably make him the best fullback in the world, or could he do his weird scat running in the centres? Would there ever be a time?
I feel like if you put him in the centres, he'd be knocked out in minutes.
But the scat running, you gotta... I don't know, is the scat running just conducive to fullbackdom, or... I
think it is. I think it's the way he scat runs with the head leading. A scoopa-dee-ba, whoopity-bee. Yeah, if you did that in the centres, you're too close to the player in front of you, I think. You don't have the time to scat, and then you get coat hanged and you're done.
I think, maybe the only way is to play two fullbacks. People laughed when Joey John said maybe Trbojevic could be 5'8". I don't actually think that's a bad idea. I honestly don't. I know he hasn't played there before, but... So what? Just tell him, play like you would at fullback in attack. Who cares?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm trying to think of where we would lack based on that, but I can't really come up with anything. Like,
think back to the last few Origin series. How much has there been quality, structured play? Or is it just so frantic that you got to give the ball and run before your head gets knocked off?
My memories of Origin are of there being structured play and beautiful runs in the mid to late 90s. Since then, it appears to just be a frantic survive, get it to the fast winger man who can get past you.
Yeah, I know. And I know saying, maybe Tommy can play 5'8" completely contradicts my complaint about playing centres out of position. That's fine. But you...
I think that the kind of the way that people will say on, better sports opinion shows than ours is that Turbo should be used as a utility off the bench, but could probably fill in a wing, could probably fill in a back.
What do you do with Pappenhausen? Because Pappenhausen
exactly, that's what
deserves to be there as well.
Do you have two utility attacking players that are just...
Is Freddie selecting on his own? I guess he is.
Yeah, I think so.
If Freddie goes, this is ridiculous, I can't have more than two fullbacks in my squad, then Pappenhausen would have to go out of the three of them, surely.
Who is the non-Adokar winger?
Who do I think?
Yeah.
If they're not going to put Tommy in 5'8", maybe Tommy.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Is this the way to get three fullbacks into the squad?
Yeah.
Play one at the wing.
But we talked about this before. You got this back line's got obviously Nathan Cleary. and
Yeah.
then possibly Jerome Luai.
Yep.
Right? And then you got the rest of it's got to be filled with Teddy, Tommy, Jack Whiten, Cody Walker, Addo Carr.
Cody Walker for sure.
Incumbent.
Yeah.
Playing pretty well. He's also playing fullback, so...
Yeah. Run them all out.
Latrell?
Yeah, Latrell's fine, but Latrell can move around a bit and play. I think Latrell
What I'm saying is the number of players you feel you need to squeeze in there is more than the positions available.
To be fair, that's good, you know.
Or
But
do we just fill our pack with fullbacks as well?
just to fucking run them all out as fullbacks.
Do we have a pack that we think is definitely locked in, or can we slide a few fullbacks in there as well?
What if we just give up on the concept of strength and weight and just get lots of fast cunts?
I thought you were going to say let's give up on the idea of positions, which would work.
I like that too.
Just as well.
Would.
Yeah, look, I don't know.
I feel like no matter what we're talking about, we're not going to have problems. Well, there'll be problems. So we will find it easier to score tries than to stop them scoring tries.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yeah, probably.
So I think maybe Freddie should go into this thinking I should actually pick the people who are going to be better at defending our line than...
Yeah, but learn lessons, because last year when we picked people out of position, that's where we got beat.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
We picked people who were better at the other end and weren't so good at the stopping them.
Yeah.
And that didn't work well.
I think we're starting to go over territory we've talked about before.
Yeah, okay. So back to the cheating.
Hang on, before we do that, we this is a car-based tangential sport podcast, and we do this when we're driving home from work sometimes. So we are actually kind of getting reasonably near where I might be dropping you off at some point soon. So can we make sure that we talk about Stuart Macgill getting kidnapped now, in case we run out of time?
Yeah, that's fair. We'll come back to the cheating later, or it can be couched for another episode. Did you hear Stuart Macgill got kidnapped?
We were both very disappointed this happened just after recording last week. But, my God, there's a lot to kind of consider here, isn't there? I mean...
Possibly the most important sports story in Australia in the last decade?
Yeah, but also kind of funny. Because, and it's funny because he didn't get any kind of serious injury, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want Macgill to get injured.
No, but also...
I wish no ill to Macgill.
But it's also... What's the first thing I said to you? Or what's one of us said to each other was... People who haven't kind of done anything dodgy don't get kidnapped off the street in front of their house.
Absolutely. It's not you don't get many random kidnappings in this part of the world. In this part of the world.
In case his lawyers are listening.
Exactly. Well, I assume they are. One of our loyal listeners is a Stuart Macgill lawyer. Yeah,
or
and
Stuart Law.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stuart Law. So it appears as if, going a bit further into it, his wife's brother has done this?
No, it's not his wife. It's an ex-partner.
Ex-partner.
Who he had some sort of financial...
Well, he works at her restaurant still.
Still, though?
I think so.
I don't know about still.
We should have got more facts on this. But either way.
I'm politely saying I think you're wrong.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think there was financial entanglement of some kind. And the word on the street is, this is all allegedly... I have sources on the street, as you well know. I'm a very kind of,
ear to the streets guy.
Connected hip.
Yeah. We walk through Little Italy and everyone's going, "Hello, Stu, hello."
So either it's thought that maybe there's some sort of debt involved that needs paying, or they feel that Macgill is some sort of
oracle.
Or bounty of money that they could have potentially extorted.
Yeah, I don't know how much money Macgill be living on. Was Macgill around for IPL?
No.
Yeah, I don't think he has much money at all.
No.
Allegedly.
No. Unless, something happened in that restaurant. Or maybe he got some of Teddy's Powerball money. I don't know. But
nice.
But either way, there's more to come out of that. How would he have served plates at that restaurant if they took his finger?
Yeah, well, so I heard this morning too that there's a new part of the story where a fifth man jumped in the car with them with a pair of bolt cutters and threatened to cut off Macgill's toe.
Yeah, and you quite rightly said, why wouldn't your friend
Go for the money-making finger.
Yeah, go spinning fingers.
Yeah, surely... Maybe they didn't know much about Macgill.
Well, or they don't understand much about bowling. Maybe, yeah.
Maybe we don't. Maybe the toes are very integral to a spin bowl.
Yeah, look.
Wouldn't you go for Warney if your ploy was just to kidnap a spin bowler?
That's a longer drive from out west of Sydney to Wellington, wherever.
So by all accounts, they grabbed him off the street, bungled him into a car, and then took him to a suburb I was unfamiliar with.
Why are you asking me that like a question?
I thought maybe you would know the suburb. I don't know. I'm trying to give a rundown.
I think it's out past kind of Campbelltown anyway.
Yeah. And then they dropped him off in Belmore.
Yeah.
Near the ground.
What, near Belmore?
I assume.
Yeah, I'd love to. I can't wait to find out more about it. I'm sure there's something. Maybe we never will. That would be really bizarre if there was just a story that Macgill got kidnapped and then there was no follow-up.
Especially if he wasn't back. That'd be even weirder if Stuart Macgill's been kidnapped in other news and we never heard more.
But how stum does he have to keep, I guess is my question. Is he not allowed to talk about it or give theories or...
Feels like an ACA tell-all.
Or, no, because there's people being arrested, so there'll be a trial, so I guess he can't talk much about it in the media.
That'll be the biggest trial since OJ.
Sport trial?
Yeah.
Well, there's been one recently that's fairly...
Pistorius?
I was thinking Jared Hayne, actually. But...
Oh, yeah.
And Jack DeBellin. But, yeah, look...
Well, the Jack DeBellin one's ongoing, so yeah, you bring up a good point. There's a lot of sports trials.
I feel we had a lot funnier things to say about this last week that are now gone.
Well, I think it was better. The quick reactions were better than the long, drawn-out reactions.
Thoughts about it. Because all we're thinking about now is, wouldn't it be nice to know this? Wouldn't it be nice to know
Yeah, speculation.
Rather than the fantastic kind of cricket-based...
oh, my God, Macgill's been kidnapped.
Kidnapped comedy that we had going last week, talking about it amongst ourselves.
Maybe it wasn't a money search. Maybe they just had personal problems with him.
Yeah, well, look, did he work in that restaurant? Maybe they just got, some cold, like, affogato or something like that.
Maybe they wanted him to teach them how to spin bowl, and he kept refusing.
Yeah, so it's a clinic gone wrong, is that what you're saying?
Has anyone looked at the place where they took him? Was it a local Nets?
Local Nets? That's showing off. If you rock up in a car, your mates are at the Nets, and then you pull out...
Look what we got.
Rip the masking tape off his face.
Don't talk to anyone, Stu.
Yeah. Send down some fizzes.
When did Stuart Macgill finish up, you reckon? How long ago? A couple of decades or just a decade?
No. I think he lasted a few years longer than Warney. So Warney was 2008, if we're talking about just test career.
Yep.
I reckon Macgill kind of went, now's my chance, and hung around. I reckon he hung around for a couple of years, but then...
Saw Gary coming.
No, more just that it was a bit late by then. He was a bit past maybe...
Yeah, sure. Couldn't rip him in like he used to.
Yeah. Now, not to say that he was a great bowler, but also he did have days where he would go for a fucking ton.
Yeah, because he used to have those balls that he would throw that didn't spin. They would just be a slow ball.
I don't know if we've got time, but he's just got a real kind of almost comic book kind of head.
Yeah.
His eyes are really closed like an overly exaggerated angry man, and sort of jutty chin.
Yep. Yeah, chin jut.
I wonder how much his face matched his personality in real life, because obviously you get polished kind of sports interviews, but he seemed to me like probably someone with a chip on his shoulder. I really get the feeling his personality matched his face.
Kidnappable.
Yeah, kidnappable. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I don't know how much more we can add.
No, we stopped adding good stuff a while ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look. Before we finish, can you remember any good cheating scandals that are like odd ones?
Oh, yeah, well, O.J. Simpson, his wife was going out with that.
No. For like, I like in baseball the spitball. People would, shine up one side of a ball in baseball using outside objects. I mean, sandpaper gate's pretty recent.
Yeah. You hear stories about old-timey marathons of people catching taxis when no one's looking and things.
I got something for you. Did you know there is there's a group of people who police marathons for marathon cheating because marathon cheating is so rife in the world.
Yeah.
And there's several ways you do it, but the most common one is to pay someone else to run the race for you wearing your shirt.
Right.
Yeah, and the reason people are doing this is so that they can enter bigger, better marathons. But that weirds me out too, because it's like, if you shit now, you'll be shit on a bigger stage.
Yeah. Shit on a bigger stage. That's an unpleasant image right at the end of your...
Good name for the episode, though.
Yeah. My father-in-law was trying to tell me over the weekend that there was an instance of a horse race once where the fog was so thick that someone cheated by getting a second horse in the same colours and putting it halfway along so it was fresh by the time the rest of them got there, and they let the other one trail off, and the second horse was there suddenly just starting at the front in front of everybody.
That is brilliant and has given me so many places to go. First of all, why don't we do horse relays? The changing of the baton would be brilliant. Like, that would be dangerous as, but brilliant.
Do you have barriers, or are they just standing free?
Standing free.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so you get your jockey there would have to be a specialist at just keeping it
You'd need one of those fancy, equestrian jockeys.
Yeah, I guess so.
The second one is, how did they do that with the guy halfway down? Like, wouldn't he need to have a running start? Surely horses from the get-go would be a lot slower than...
Yeah, but there's kind of... Isn't there those little slip side things sometimes in horse tracks where you can...
Nice, yeah. So he's just running on the inside, whoop, goes in.
Yeah.
Thirdly...
But he just... When he hears them coming, just needs to come out, and then the one that is getting replaced just fades to the back, and then people... Because the fog's so thick that you could almost say, well, I didn't know... Holy shit, he's in front of us now, look.
Yeah, well, there he is. How long was these people planning this before the fog day?
Well, exactly. That's some good forecasting of weather as well.
Is this spur of the moment thoughts? Oh, I know what we could do here.
Well, look, I haven't looked into it. It was my father-in-law, just going on. So it could well be missing bits of information or, misinterpreted in some way.
Fog in sports stuff is good. I think there was a Manchester United game some time ago where it was snowing so heavily that a player did disappear. Right. Not forever, but I think he went off, he fell down or something like that, and no one knew.
Yeah, right.
That's that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing you say when cheating, I think, is Melbourne Storm, but you said not.
No money.
Financial.
The first thing that came to my head was Essendon and peptides.
Yeah, okay.
But they didn't even cheat themselves into being that good. Corking bats in the
in the baseball.
What about a bad action bowling? That's fun.
Oh, okay. So arguably someone like
Murali Duran.
Yeah. I just think he had a freak arm. It's not really his fault.
He did.
Yeah, that was weird times, weren't they? When he kept getting no ball.
I mean, the whole thing is it's got to be above right angle height and straight arm, right? So in theory you could whirly bout it, just spin your body sideways rather than over the top.
I suppose so, as long as the arm doesn't bend more than 15 degrees or
drop below the waist almost.
I suppose, yeah. We're about to get to your house, Monty. I haven't heard anything from Nathan Ellis, the guy who sent us a question last week. No correspondence, which leads me to wonder whether there are people who send questions to podcasts and then don't listen to the answer.
Or perhaps he was just sated with his answer.
Yeah, and went, oh, that's done.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Interesting. We'll may never find out. Any other sport thoughts before I stop the car and let you out, friend?
Nah, not really.
What a long wait for an answer there.
Well, I was thinking.
Okay. Swannies this week? Anything you want to sort of...
Yeah, we looked good. We looked good against a great team. So, we lost, but I felt pretty good about it. And I think it by no means kind of slows our run down, even though it was a loss. Melbourne look amazing.
All right.
I'll see you next week.
See ya. Yay.
Hello, my name is Piers Grove, and I'm a founder, publisher, and managing director. In March 2022, I'd just been named Managing Director of Australian Geographic and set up Scout Publishing. Then, everything changed. 404 Brain Not Found, the podcast for stroke survivors and their friends and colleagues. We explore the absurd experience and frustrating journey of stroke recovery. 404 Brain Not Found, a general experiments podcast on all podcast streamers.
My name's Stu.
I'm Rachel.
And we are fans
Obsessives might be the word.
of the 90s. The 90s. The 90s. You can follow the podcast on your favourite podcast app. Rachel, what's the name of the show?
Swinging on the flippity flop.
Why the 90s?
We lived it.
We lived it, we were it.
Was it the best decade ever or the lamest? Let's find out.
Flippity flop.